Alright, today's June 10th. We're going to cover today's morning PA. So let's walk through it. You guys can see we have previous day high here, as well as previous day low resting inside this daily fair value gap. But what we did is we left this unfilled 4-hour bearish fair value gap, and we were currently holding this 30-minute bullish fair value gap. And so I was anticipating for us to deliver towards this 4-hour bearish gap. Why was I anticipating that? Because the overnight sessions generated all this buy side liquidity leading towards this intermediate high inside of this 4-hour bearish gap. Again, this gap was unfilled, so we had a lot of range to trade into here. Let me show you guys what the overnight sessions did. Asia open, we stacked highs here. London, it did the same thing. We did not manipulate higher into this bearish gap. We instead generated buy side liquidity and then rebalanced this bullish leg by trading into this 30-minute unfilled bullish gap. Now off open, what could we have anticipated for? You guys can see here the 630 candle trades higher, stacks an internal high here, putting in this buy side liquidity, as well as another internal stacked high that was put in at 530. This would have been our data wick. This is our data high. You guys can see at 530 news, we put in this data high. And we also left this overextended leg. So what's resting inside this overextended leg? An unfilled 30-minute bullish fair value gap. So off open, we stacked another high here. We now are rebalancing this leg. So if giving confirmation out of this leg, we could have taken an entry towards this 4-hour intermediate high, as well as targeting these stacked highs on the way there. We trade higher, rebalance his leg, trading into equilibrium of this range. The next 5-minute candle opens bullish, and we instantly run this data high. Now let's see if there is an entry on the 1 minute. You guys could have taken this inversion here, this bullish candle as your entry, and targeting data high for a 1-to-1, or leaving runners to target that intermediate high, sitting inside that bearish 4-hour gap. After running that data high and the rest of the session highs, as well as the intermediate high sitting inside the unfilled 4-hour bearish gap, we have now filled this 4-hour bearish gap, as you guys can see here. And what can we anticipate for? Likely continuations lower. So let's see if we were given a potential entry to short here. As you guys can see, we put in a 4-minute bullish fair value gap that does get inverse but ends up getting disrespected, and we remanipulate these highs. So a potential re-entry would have been a inverse after resweeping these highs here. We are given this 1 minute fair value gap that ends up getting inverse there. So shorting this would have been valid. Break even at the internal low here. And our targets running all of this LRL, as well as this intermediate low sitting inside this 30-minute bearish gap. Let's see how this trade plays out. We delivered to our first take profit. There we are taking our second take profit. But you guys can see the two opportunities that presented themselves, right? A Judas swing off open to long towards this intermediate high sitting inside this 4-hour unfilled bearish gap. And this short here where we remanipulate, take a 1 minute inversion and target the lows. But I hope that makes sense. And if there are any more questions, just ask me in the Discord.